That is just infuriating, dude. I can't even tell you how many people just continue to call themselves an alcoholic, even though it's not even scientifically accurate. As a matter of fact, I wholeheartedly believe that the reason I'm not an alcoholic, and when I was sitting in AA, I knew that I wasn't one of these people telling the most horrendous stories I've ever heard in my entire life, is because even though I was addicted to having 30 shots a day, even though my heart stopped, liver failed, all that stuff, even though I literally could not function without it for years, even though I would go through extreme withdrawals every single night for years, I never called myself an alcoholic. And you want to know why? It's because I wasn't. Physically, my body had a major dependency on the substance. But why would that happen? What conditions would arise for me to be dependent on a literal poison? Was it because I was born to be an alcoholic? Was it because I was a little sad and alcohol was just my preferred coping mechanism? No, dude. I had an emotional entanglement. I was drinking as a form of self-love. I wanted to live. If I didn't want to live, I wouldn't have made it to the next day. My alcohol became the thing that literally, physically kept me alive. For some people, alcohol is the medicine. That's probably not you, though, because you like to drink, or you used to like to drink a lot. You probably still have a high tolerance. If you're in your 40s, one drink is a hangover for a whole nother week. But my point with this is, I believe wholeheartedly that because I never limited myself to the label of alcoholic, even in the throes of my addiction, even though I didn't embody the identity of those that identify as an alcoholic, even though clinically, physically, psychologically, and statistically, I was an alcoholic, I didn't believe it. And I believe that it was the density of the fact that I knew that I wasn't an alcoholic, but I was sick. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I needed help. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I was dependent. It was the core knowingness that I wasn't drinking because I was an alcoholic, that I was drinking because I wanted to feel better. As a matter of fact, after I threw up blood, my first thought was, I feel better now. I'm ready for a shot. My stomach, I threw up an entire stomach full of blood. And my first thought, not because I was an alcoholic, but because I was physically dependent on the poison, was, I feel better. I'm ready for a drink. And I started to go get that drink. Thankfully, someone stopped me. But my point is that labeling ourselves, that's the addiction. Trying to literally identify something and then sticking to that identification is why we don't progress. If you call yourself an alcoholic, you're only going to be an alcoholic. You're going to be an alcoholic that also happens to own a business. You're going to be an alcoholic that also happens to be a politician. You're going to be an alcoholic first that also happens to be a parent. I'm telling you that you are a parent, you're a friend, you're a person, you're a human, you're a being far before the addiction, the struggle, the practices, the behaviors, and the pain. Start identifying as something greater than what's plaguing you or what you feel is making your life a little bit more difficult. If you could practice doing that, I promise you, the problems, they'll fix themselves.